House. 8 million Venezuelans voting for the assembly, saying
and people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America, and yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself admits to his sons, hey, I love this game.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk, Wednesday night, 16th of May, checking in. It's been a couple days since we had a chance to get together and talk about what's happening in the news and what's happening with our monetary system, and therefore, so I wanted to check in tonight and see who else will tune in and call in and share their thoughts or whatnot. So as always, we've got the clock rolling, 29 minutes of back and forth time. So as always, I want to take a couple seconds to welcome any new viewers to the RTD Live Talk show. And so, as always, if you're new to RTD, join the chat. Let me know where you're checking in from. Love to find out if we have any new viewers tuning in this evening. And also, the goal is always to find out what's happening in your world with our economy or monetary system. I know there's a lot of news happening nowadays in regards to our economy, so it's impossible to get to it all during one day. So this provides everybody the opportunity to voice their opinion on what's happening in their world as well as what's happening in their local news to inform the general public. So and also, just this past week's been a lot of activity on my end. I've had a wonderful chance of doing a couple interviews, and so I posted the interview I had yesterday on Forex Analytics with Dale Pinkert. There was a great opportunity to just share the whole Rethinking the Dollar message. So we got Mike Holiday from Phoenix. Nicholas Smith, how about the price of everything? Yeah, the price of everything. Be more specific, because I know that price is dropping into everything as far as I know, the crypto and the silver market, whatever. But once again, as I always stress, don't really pay attention to the price, more so just the actual opportunity to take hold of more of those items, of course, given your financial situation. So I look at it as a way of accumulating more. It says work just to pay bills. Yeah, so in referring to that cost of living increasing, and then today also I was in the process of putting together a video in regards to just the whole middle class scenario. Came across some information from a conference or a talk that former President Joe Biden gave last week at a university, and just listening to him speak, I was just really disturbed with all that, but ended up not having time to get to it like I wanted to. But A. Kent from Dallas, welcome, my friend. Welcome to RTD Live Talk. And so the typical format is get a chance to find out what's happening in the news, things I may have missed, as well as go through some of the comment section from prior videos, as well as interviews that I've had. And also had a chance today to speak with Brother T. West over at Afro Synergy YouTube channel. Had a great conversation. We talked a lot about just a lot of global events, as well as the pension system situation, how it's imploding from the very seams. And so definitely can cover that as well. And I actually post a link to that if you follow me on Twitter, so you can go check that out. It was a lot of good back and forth. And so give it a couple more seconds. I actually want to check on something myself. But as always, the phone line, I figure I'd keep it open. I had more people call in that I didn't allow time to actually get to a lot of those calls. So as always, if you're online and there's something you want to discuss, something you want to air out to the public, feel free to call in. Open up the mics as normal. Any new viewers, as you can see, that number 1-833-LIVE-RTD is the number you want to call in order to get on air and share whatever's on your mind, or that system or economy is always helpful. And so once I copy and paste something, we'll get into the chat a little bit more. But tomorrow I have an opportunity to interview a cryptocurrency gentleman. So I'm looking forward to having some good back and forth with him, because it's a interesting opportunity that this company is far to invest directly into the blockchain and the technology that they're making available. And so it's going to be a lot of things that's happening right now. Then they have that whole consensus cryptocurrency conference in New York, and of course the mainstream news is on board hyping it up. So that lets me know that there's a lot of people who are interested in that sector now as it becomes more mainstream. So let me say view page, view and watch on page. Yes. So question over there just yet. Whenever my screen pops up, it says work just to pay bills. When is the silver giveaway finished? Oh, so okay, good question. So the silver giveaway just this past Monday, for those that are aware of it, looking to give away a 10-ounce silver bar, SD Bullion bar, Liberty bar, and so it ends on June 14th. So that'd be an official 30-day period there. And so if you have not registered for that, it'd be a good way to get involved in just spreading the news of Rethinking the Dollar. And it's incentivized by, if you do register, you get a chance to share their RTD information with other people and accumulate points. And of course, at the end of that 30-day period, it's an automatic process. It'll pick the winner for me. And so basically the person who has accumulated the most points will be the one that gets the bar. And so I'll give you the option, whoever you might be, winner-wise, if you want to have your name announced on the on air during one of the live streams, I would love to do that. Or perhaps if you're interested in joining me for a live stream, assuming that you are in the same monetary stacking community, be a good chance to have you on here to share your thoughts, and as well as to just share whatever might be on your mind. So what else we got here? It says, who is the crypto guy? The crypto guy is Frank Holmes from Hive Blockchain Technology, and so he's the board of directors CEO, as well as he's a mutual fund investor guy. So he's going to share with us some projects he has going on and ways of more people getting involved in that sector. And so, as I mentioned, I'm looking to get into more mining things as well as the crypto opportunity. So looking to diversify myself outside of the dollar as well into other opportunities to earn a little bit on the side. So I bet it will become tokenized with everything else. I see it playing more of an industrial role at high tech, like missiles, nukes. So Michael, I missed what you're referring to. First time viewer Steve and Roy, welcome to RTD, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, the whole format is to give you, the public, a voice. So if you have topics or whatever you want to call in, number 833 Live RTD, share what's on your mind. Love to have you voice the audience and chime in or answer a question directly if it's something that you want my opinion on. It says give it to a caller. Yeah, so watch this. So what I have just one is I have a lot of things as far as giveaways I'm looking to do. So I have a lot more opportunities coming of ways just to get more people engaged, and more importantly, the whole goal is to get people to really want to share monetary literacy with people, monetary awareness, getting people to think outside of the conventional narrative. So I have a couple things that I'm going to be giving away real soon that I think will be appealing to everyone, and just giving heads up, it's going to be monetary based. So working on some gold products as well as some crypto or whatnot to give out to people, just to get people fired up and get them, taking action in their own dealings. So it says, hi, question, what would happen if US dollar returned to gold standard or so, try to compensate and compete with the yuan, gold back, and others that may follow? Good question. So if the United States dollar or the Federal Reserve note was all of a sudden, as a countermeasure to our political structure, decided to, link gold with the fiat currency, we would have two problems. One, most people say that the gold is no longer in Fort Knox. So if we don't have physical gold on hand to show the world and to be, in order to be audited, most people wouldn't believe us, one. And then two, we would have to readjust the gold price majorly, because you think about all the Federal Reserve paper as well as digits in circulation, and so there's more than we are actually aware of, because they actually stopped keeping count of the M3 money supply, which is the accumulation of M1 and M2, which is basically all the money, notes and whatever coins in circulation. So they stopped keeping track, or reporting to the public. So there could be trillions upon trillions of Federal Reserve denominated digits and paper floating around this planet, and it all has to be accumulated. It all has to be accounted for with each ounce of gold or silver. So if you go to usdebtclock.org, and it gives you an idea based upon the M2 money supply divided by the total amount of silver or gold that's mined per year, we're already looking at 600 silver and how many ever thousand gold. So the price of gold would, in dollar terms, be astronomical, to where it will create a problem. It'll create a problem just price alone, not shortage in the physical metal, but just price alone will be an issue. Because think about this: if an ounce of gold is worth now $20,000, all that has to be accounted for in actual goods and services. So it'll be a small amount of people who are holding on to coins that will all of a sudden find themselves being a little bit more wealthy or better off than the rest of the public, and it'll be a big disparity in income and wealth in general, because a small portion once again would have all this metal value nominally in papers, where the rest of the public would not have anything. So it will be similar to the crypto world, where if the crypto spike, Bitcoin goes to $1 million, only a small few of people actually have actual Bitcoins in their possession. They'll be Bitcoin millionaires or gold millionaires or whatever it be. So it'll be a big disparity in those who have and those who don't, which will cause a problem. It says, I gave it to friends. So many people are skeptical of giveaways. Yeah, just that's the biggest thing is, if they are interested, they're interested. If not, they're not. This thing is to give away. I'm going to give the silver to whoever wins. So like I've done a giveaway before, and it was a younger person who won it out on the West Coast. I mailed them their bullion, so it was all fine and good. So, but the biggest thing is, if your friends are curious and interested in learning something outside of what they may not have learned at school, then I hope that the RTD University or some of the resources that are free would be of use to them, to get them to think outside this current paradigm. So that's the goal with it. It says, Mike Holiday, I was talking about silver, about silver. Have you heard of the book, The Bitcoin Standard? I might have heard of it, but I haven't read it, so I'm not too familiar with it. It says, what do you think about silver becoming main fraction a liquid as you will on the blockchain? Not some people say that it's good to have the blockchain and physical metal linked together, but once again, I don't really see the point, because it would be the equivalent of linking, like right now, everything blockchain wise is denominated or priced in Federal Reserve notes. So unless you actually plan on utilizing that and then being able to redeem it on the other end, most people wouldn't redeem it, I believe. So they'll be comfortable with just going back and forth with the scanning of a QR code, or just sending digits back and forth, to where they may never redeem their gold or silver. So what's the point in even having it? If the whole gold idea is to actually be able to use it, or to sit on it and save it. So I don't see the point in linking it right now, even though there's a lot of companies doing that. So it says, what do you think about the GJX at 50K? Jordan Bell. Let me see. I haven't really been following it. Let me just look at it real quick. Yeah. So it said $1 million bet with Bitcoin would hit 50,000. Let me see. Bet. Yeah, will it? Let me see. What is it right now? That's one thing I don't tend to follow the mainstream financial instruments, just because I would imagine you can agree that they're all super inflated, and so I never pay attention to what the fluctuations and the volatility of the markets are, just because at the end of the day they're all priced outside of what mainstream can really afford, and most of mainstream not participating in the stock market and all these markets actively anyway. Most of us are passive investors through our paychecks that's handled by our employers type of thing. So don't follow it much, but of course, in order to keep the system floating, I can imagine all those financial instruments, the Dow, S&P, all that stuff moving to astronomical amounts because they have to keep the system going. So, says Kenneth Gibson, do you believe a jet debt jubilee is possible? I hear the word jubilee a lot in reference to the washing away of debt from a biblical standpoint and forgiveness of debt. But I don't see how that will play out, just because for every man's asset is somebody else's liability. So someone's going to come up short. I.e., a good example will be if a pensioner, for example, or an investor in general put aside or invested, say, $50,000 in XYZ company, and XYZ company is already insolvent and on the verge of filing bankruptcy. If they just wipe their books clean, the investor on the other end is going to lose out. So there's no equaling out that whole Jubilee scenario, because someone's going to come up short. And ideally, Jubilees, this whole idea of a debt Jubilee is to rid all of the financial institutions of their promises and their liabilities that they've taken on. So it's basically bailing the financial institutions out, as well as the government and all the other stuff out, at the expense of the people who've been saving and working. So I don't see how that will play out in a very comfortable way for anyone. So we'll see. But I know it's all, of course, my opinion. Just thank you for the explanation. Very much appreciated. Beans, Band-Aids, bullion, blockchain, and bullets. There are chances that the market will continue to raise a panic moving north to 50,000. Man, like, that's the thing. I remember when I was talking about the Dow Jones back, I think it was 2 years ago or however long it was, back when, what's his name? No longer doing videos, but I had him interview on RTDU. I can't think of his name. Out of California. But anyway, he went MIA. And so I remember talking to him about could the Dow reach 20,000. He was like, oh, yeah, it's going to hit 20, maybe 30, maybe 40. And I couldn't see it at the time, because at that time, we're all looking for one domino or one kink in this chain that come unloose that'll cause everything to be unraveled. And so I was anticipating the market or something happening, but before it reached 20,000, that's when it was at like 17, 18,000. And so the fact that we actually got to 20, whatever it is now, lets me know that this thing is capable of being propped up, primarily because everyone would agree. So it's at 24,000 right now. So it's 5,000 points higher. So it's good to say it can reach 30 to hell by midsummer. But yet, come beginning of fall, there's always some type of hiccup. So we'll see. But I can't think of the guy's name. It's bothering me too. It's really bothering me. I'm sorry. I gotta take a minute. I gotta figure out what's his name, because it's bothering me. Because he was one of the guys I watched regularly until he just disappeared. And so some of the viewers mentioned that he was a scam artist. He's probably in jail or whatever his name, but it's bothering me. So I gotta take a minute to find this out. And if anyone knows who I'm talking about, feel free to chime in the chat. Debt Jubilee for federal government. They can inflate away the currency and replace the dollar with Bitcoin. Yeah. Replace the Federal Reserve note with Bitcoin. I don't foresee that happening, because as of now, I don't believe the federal government I don't believe they have enough Bitcoin in their possession to regulate and control the way they normally would. So in that case, if they were to inflate away the dollar, which is inevitable, because the only way they can keep this thing going is to continue to monetize debt. And it's just a matter of time before, nope, it's not Cliff High. Cliff High probably said it, but it's not Cliff High. Let me see, I'm going to pull it up right now. Where is he at? Here we go. Fabian Calvo. And so just to let you know who I'm talking about, for those that may not be familiar with him, Fabian Calvo, this young man that's right here above my head in the red. Where are we at? Right here. This guy right here, Fabian Calvo, who was episode number 17. And so I remember him telling me how this was when Dow was 17, 18,000. He was saying how the Dow can go to 20, 25, 30. It can go as high as they want it to go, because it's all based upon 0% interest rates, as well as company buybacks, share buybacks, and all that type of stuff, which is very true. And so what's going to be interesting to see is that as the Federal Reserve continues to look to raise interest rates, and all that easy credit, free money that's floating around is no longer available, then where will that excess liquidity come from to keep stocks and stuff rising? That's going to be the question. And I foresee a time where if there's no easy credit or easy money floating around, the stock market going to take a little dip and then a drastic decline, because what's propping it up, we all know, is 0% interest rates. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, let me see here. So I want to get to some questions. So these are some questions from, let me refresh this actually. These are some questions from the past videos, and I wanted to see what's going on here. Share. I appreciate you guys leaving your thoughts. So we have Mass Faith 3. It says, crypto was birthed by the globalists, deep state, etc. 1981. The hosts here in line. It says, crypto is fool's gold. Those selling it are great air, CIA, globalists, corporate cronies. Yeah, that's the thing. I think that was referring to my idea of how skeptical I am in regards to the crypto sector, because it seems to be very timely for this monetary restructuring that's taking place. So I see he shared the same thoughts. It says, when we scroll a little bit more, it says, when it all goes south, who will have the greenbacks to buy my silver? The question is, if it all goes south, Christopher, will you want to sell your silver? And I'm sure you would not. Or hopefully you don't. Mike, let's put together an army of coin roll hunters. Silver on the cheap. And we have Countryman says, I buy $100 a month of 1 ounce silver rounds. Having said that, how is it going to help me after the collapse, aka the shift? I also prep foods and other stuff. So, Countryman, good question there. So how will it help you after the collapse? Assuming that there will be some downtime before a new system or new monetary medium of exchange is implemented, simply whatever the solution will be based upon the government or central bank, if we still have that at the time, they'll try to put out some instrument to say this is the new medium of exchange, the Fed coin, or the Treasury dollar, or whatever the name of it might be. It'll be redeemable or exchangeable for all those hyperinflated currency notes. And this is all relevant to what's happening in Venezuela now. You had the old 100 Bolivar note as of last year that was taken out of circulation. They gave the people a window of time saying that you have 2 months to turn in all those $100 notes at X amount of exchange rate for this new Bolivar. They always call it new, the new Bolivar. And so it would say, I forgot what the numbers were, say if it's, 10,000 old Bolivars for 100 new Bolivars, that would be the exchange rate. So whoever got 10,000 Bolivars, you would turn them big wads of paper in. They'll give you a fresh, clean new Bolivar. And then, as you can tell from that scenario there, a year later, that new Bolivar is inflated away as well. So now they have the Maduro coin, or the Petro coin, and they're looking to test an island there with the new coin adoption for the public. So I got off subject matter there, but you will retain your silver and gold, whatever it is, and then let that, as Jim Willie mentioned, the immediate devaluation of that new currency that will be put in circulation occur. Then your metals or whatever it'd be worth that much more as you look to slowly but surely wean off just a little bit to take care of your living expenses. But I wouldn't foresee a time where you want to go all in on some new currency, because it's going to be devalued again. As an immediate response to the international need for those same notes or trade, they're going to have to devalue our currency. So it'll be similar to like when we leave this country. Say, for example, if you go to Argentina, like right now, it's $1 for 22 pesos. There's going to be a time, in my opinion, where the U.S. Federal Reserve Note will no longer be the global standard of currency measurement, to where we might end up needing to exchange our stuff with the yuan being the global currency. Just say, for example, where we'll be talking about that new federal dollar or treasury dollar that we use here locally. When we travel, we're going to have to measure it in the yuan. So it might be 1 yuan for 6 treasury notes or something like that. That's what it's going to be like in the next shift, next paradigm, I believe. So, and it's all relevant to what is happening right now. So it's not like it's far-fetched, and that's just stuff what happens now. So, but good question there. So let me get back to some questions here. It says, how is it fool's gold? I guess referring to the blockchain technology. Not necessarily fool's gold, but it's a mystery, because it's the continuation of what the system already wants. They want us to be in a digital age anyway. So having blips from your phone or whatever just is a continuation of the fact that we are already in a digitized world, since the Federal Reserve digits are our predominant currency anyway. So I assume that's probably what he meant. Google dynamic yield curve. It takes a while for this to play out and the crash to happen after inversion. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But yet, regardless of the time frame of the curve, of the yield curve inverting or not, you have the idea that something will follow and it won't be pleasant. So whether it's a couple weeks, couple months, mind you, the Federal Reserve will do whatever they can to keep this thing floating. So who knows what kind of monetary tools they have in their toolkit that they unleash, but we know it's going to have to do with the expansion of the money supply. BTC will be the global currency. I wouldn't be surprised if it be the global currency amongst the public, but it won't become legal tender by governments officially, because it will pose a threat to their control if people are able to do transactions without having to go through the middleman, and the government always wants to be the middleman or have a eye or a hand in on everything we do. So I don't see it being accepted as a global currency. No one ever thought Bitcoin would hit 10,000. Very true. Very true. System does not want Bitcoin. That is very true. The system does not want Bitcoin. The people do. The free market wants it because it's an alternative to all these failing currencies around the world. So, excuse me. Oh. But as you see, the clock ticker is timing down. And so we've got about 5 minutes left. So today looks like no one wants to call in, but yet the lines are here. If you want to call in and share your thoughts, definitely. We'd love to get some fresh perspective on whatever it might be. And then also, I was actually having a conversation earlier in regards to my video from yesterday in regards to the cost of living, and then factoring in just the whole idea of the middle class. And I was mentioning earlier about how I was going to put together a video in reference to some statistics that show how wide the gap of income disparity is becoming between those that have more than enough and those who have barely enough, and the gap is widening rather. And politicians love to talk about how the importance of saving the middle class, and the middle class is all tied into the American dream concept. And so I did a video a while back on the American dream and how I believe that concept, it plays right alongside with the retirement narrative of you work hard all your life, you set aside to then retire down the line. And I think we're reaching a crossroad to where those paradigms or those schools of thought are no longer really relevant for the younger generation, because those in the millennial and Generation X, they're finding out that, you know, they can work as hard as they want, but they may not be able to get ahead because you won't be able to outwork or save enough to actually be able to sustain your livelihood in a comfortable manner now, nevertheless be able to set some aside for the future. So I believe the American dream is crumbling. So I'd be willing to go on a limb and say that. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts about the American dream? Because me growing up, I never gave thought to anything, you know, called the American dream. And I factor in the fact that me having traveled a little bit and been exposed to the world, as far as seeing what life is like outside this country here, I'm not so sure the American dream is really worth having, because it comes at a heavy price, and it's called your time, and it's called, you know, just your livelihood. Because in order to maintain a comfortable life here, or an excessively comfortable life, you're gonna have to either A, have a great income, or B, live within your means. And I hate that word, live within your means. That's saying you got to minimize how you live in order to exist, while the world and the banking system and all the governments continue to borrow and enslave us with debt. They're telling me to shrink my lifestyle type of thing. I don't like that, but that's just me. But anyway, what we got here, Sold Out says gap is widening because the ultimate goal is two classes, elites and peasants, basically the dark ages. This is object. Yeah. Ancient Egypt Queen, that is a very good one. Ancient Egypt Queen, where are you located at? I don't think I've seen that name before. If you're new to RTD, welcome. Says Sold Out, love the video about the politician with the crazy pension. Yeah, that was a good one. And so it's a lot of other politicians and public workers that are receiving astronomical amount of money right now. That makes sense. American dream is dead to inflation. Yeah, American dream is a nightmare. Very much so. And who is going to impact more? From Oregon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the American dream, I need to come up with a new word for it. The word nightmare is not fair, because I'm sure everyone is not experiencing that nightmare type of livelihood. I know I'm not experiencing a nightmare, it's just, not the most exciting times looking forward, especially because of all the stuff happening around us. But I got to come up with a word. So if anybody got a word to recategorize the word American dream, it's because the American dream, as I was telling the person I was speaking with, was sold to the baby boomers generation. That's what got them into committing their entire livelihoods to working and setting aside into the financial system to arrive at this point of looking for a pension. So the American dream was sold to my parents or our parents, those that are entering retirement now. So you can't use that narrative now about the American dream, because if you ask people what the American dream is, they're going to say you got to have a college degree. And we know how college degrees are turning out. They're not really promising much. We got Screwjob. That's an interesting one there. Got to keep it a little bit more user friendly, because it's something I would want to share with the younger generation. So what are your thoughts about gas and food prices going up? So we do have a call right as the clock draws down to the end, but we'll take it. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on, Mike? It's Kenny again from Pensacola, Florida.
Pensacola, Florida. How you doing, my friend? What's going on with you this evening?
Nothing much. I just have two questions.
Yep, go ahead.
So my first question is about the yield curve.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean when they say yield curve?
Mm-hmm.
And then my second question is how high do you think interest rates will have to go until the markets start to go down? It seemed like it made it to 3% pretty well. So
yeah, good question there. Okay, so I'll do the best I can to answer you. Of course, I always recommend you Google what that is. But yeah, from what I've gathered, the yield curve is when you look at I think it's a 30-year Treasury in comparison to the 10-year or the 2-year. One of the shorter-term Treasuries that is sold, the amount of interest given on that particular note. So think 10-year. Once the borrowing cost becomes more expensive in the short, or more profitable in the short term than long term, the curves end up coming together. And when they come together, that spells trouble, because that's saying that it is more expensive. It's more profitable or more expensive. One of the other. It's when they invert, it's basically saying that it is more cheaper now to borrow than it would be to lend someone money for the future. So it's basically it's not a good sign of it's not a good sign of lending money when it's more profitable now than it is in the future, or something of that nature. So basically, it's saying that long term you can't trust the fact that you're going to be able to receive as much as you're going to receive right now. So it's not promising for those that are lending money to the government. In a nutshell, something of that nature. So, and then what was the second one?
Okay. Oh, and how high? Well, what's the yield percentage on the 10-year?
Yeah.
How high do you think it will be until the markets sort of go down, because the markets are still going up still?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
markets still going up. Gold and silver go down.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Very good question. And so I don't know the specifics of how all of that works. And so, like, I'm not into the bond market or whatever, other than just me covering the surface of things to get an understanding of it. I was under the impression that, based upon history, whenever we get to the point where it's about to invert or go opposite direction of the way it should go, which was around that 3% range, that spells trouble in comparison to prior situations where we entered into a recession. So since we're near that point, a lot of hedge fund managers and bond billionaires are talking about those are dangerous territories for them, because it makes them question where can they park their money if the bond market is not really looking strong right now. So that's kind of how I measure and hear about the idea we are in recession amongst every other index that is utilized to kind of predict future cost of borrowing, which it seems like a lot of things are lining up to show that we are currently in a recession already. Officially, it just hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah, it's just like, how weird is it that gold and silver is still going down and everything else is still going up? It's like it's been like a tough road.
Yeah.
I feel bad for people that started collecting silver when it was like $30.
Yeah.
And it's a tough road for people, man.
Yeah, but that's also when you consider the price. If you look at the price, of course, it goes up, it goes down. In measuring things in the actual nominal terms, of course, looks bad. But yet, knowing that things are happening, knowing that something will happen eventually, you can't suppress the price of gold and silver for much longer. according to history. So it's a matter of time before some type of hiccup happens where the free market will take over. And as one of my prior guests, Gregory Manarino, always talk about, it's just basically the free market looking for true, as you say, price discovery. So eventually the market will correct itself. And so it's just a matter of when. But yet they're going to do the best they can to prop it up. And so just brace and take advantage of opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. So, yeah, I signed up for your email distro list.
Yes.
The $10 bar. So you can look out for me.
Good deal, my friends.
Kenny Lee, you know.
Oh, yeah. So
so I signed up for that, guy. So other people listening, sign up for the email distro. It's a really good chance to get
good chance, man.
Free 10 bar.
It's points incentive. So the whole goal is the more people to become aware of it, the more people who utilize your link, then you receive those points. So you gotta put the word out there, and more people sign up, more points it does for you. So I was actually looking at some of the results, and after being just 3 days, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people stacking up points. A lot more.
I know. I'm like, I gotta catch up, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cats out there making it happen. I'm like, wow, I didn't know you could get points like that. So, but yeah, man. But I have some more. I have some more giveaways, man. I'm gonna do some crypto ones. I'm gonna do some gold ones. So, trying to get people involved and give people a chance to really help spread the word or whatnot. So, appreciate you participating, man.
Oh yeah, but before I go, one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I see like a lot of the interviews you have.
Mm-hmm.
If you could, I have a special request.
Yes.
It's a guy he's the person that kind of put me on to silver and kind of like rethinking the dollar and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guy named Peter Schiff.
Yeah.
Peter Schiff. He has like a weekly show, man. So if you could, I like Lynette Zhang and a lot of guys that she had on, but yeah, man.
Yeah, Peter.
If you can get Peter Schiff, that'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that's it though.
I've reached out to him. I haven't heard back from him, but of course I never give up. So he'll be here one day because if he has not heard about the Rethinking the Dollar, it's gonna come across his pathway one way or another. So he'll be joining us hopefully. Guys, in Jesus' name, we get him out here.
All right, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Have a good evening. Yeah, Peter Schiff would be a good guest to have. And that's the thing, because if you follow Peter Schiff, I follow Peter Schiff. I already kind of know what he's going to talk about, because he's one of the guys that were talking about the Great Recession before the Great Recession happened. So we all know that he's going to tell the truth, which is the fact we're in trouble. Brace for a crash, get your finances in order, and then of course it always invest with me. I can diversify your money and all that type of stuff. Where in actuality, all he has to say is just the market's going to crash again, like it did prior to me predicting in 07, 08, like he did, and then he would say, something like, just get silver, prepare. But that's the thing, like this next market hiccup, I mean, it stands to be something greater than a Great Recession. So how can you really prepare for that? Is going to be the question. So we'll see. We need to get Kanye on silver. Ain't you easy to quit? Yes, in Jesus' name. Thanks for saying that. Yes. So yeah, that's the thing. Like I've gotten away from it, but I tend to end off on a good note of saying that despite all of the stuff we hear about and all the things that's happening, of course the Lord, knows what's happening, and so that's one thing that keeps me chipper during all this doom and gloom that a lot of people love to partake in. There's the fact that all this has already been written and determined, so God already knows what happens, and if you're a believer, if you're in Christ, you win anyway in the end. So be of good cheer. So anyway, draw to the end. It was a great chit chat. Thank you for calling in from Florida, and thanks for the new viewers out there sharing their thoughts or whatever. So as always, it goes to just share my opinion and my thought. I'm not a authorized financial advisor or expert. I'm just a man with an opinion who do a lot of research and have been blessed to connect with a lot of people in this space that are certified and are experts, and they come on here. And the fact they're willing to come on a show called Rethinking the Dollar lets me know that they themselves question a lot of things, and that they'll be willing to show their face on here and represent Rethinking the Dollar. So anybody's new, if you have not, there's a lot of stuff right here available. I have my Facebook page, link with me there. I share stuff there. If you want to see any of my prior interviews, visit RTD University. And so I have stuff there. And what else? Let me see here. Steam It. Make sure you follow me on Steam It. I get stuff there. So anyway, just get ready to sign off. It's been a good evening chit-chatting with you guys. Be on the lookout for an interview tomorrow with Frank Holmes. I'm going to post that tomorrow once it's done. What else we got here? That's pretty much it. So everybody enjoy your evening. Thanks for timing in. And be safe, be good. And also, as always, what I really love people do is when you come across articles, or whatnot, if you're on Twitter or Instagram, follow me and tag me in it so I can, do a video and dive into a little bit deeper and share with the audience so that we can find out about it. So feel free to tag me and share stuff with me. I appreciate those that have done it before, so keep it up. And then more importantly, if you have not got involved in the giveaway, do that so we can get the word out there and help add to your collection of silver. So other than that, everybody enjoy your night, be good, and I will see you again later. Get Trace Mayer. I've reached out to Trace, haven't heard from him, but I'll stick with it though. So appreciate it, Mike. Anyway, everybody enjoy your evening.